at finished product here, but let's get back to the end of part one of the Carter Go Kart build. There I am. We're taking a little test run. Had a large parking lot, and once we got everything back together, made sure it ran well, and we test things out.
That feels a lot faster than 25 miles an hour.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Here we go. We put this go-kart together.
This go-kart was pretty quick. 6.5 horsepower engine. Those tires really took off on us.
What happened?
I couldn't imagine how fast this thing's gonna go without a governor. I was going so fast out of a rock.
Fly up and hit
right
you?
there.
Even with EJ driving around with his sister, speeds were pretty fast. I think here they're ready to tell us at about 30 miles an hour.
Without even taking the governor.
It was a lot of fun. So once we got it back, just to take a look, a swing around it here, a lot of places where there was rust and corrosion. So what we want to do, disassemble everything. The only thing we did leave on the frame was the rear axle. So of course the roll cage is already off here in this shot, but we had to put it up on a stand, and EJ and I started the disassembly process once we knew that everything was working correctly. We even had installed a kill switch as well. The cart was missing some parts here and there and things we had to put back together. But EJ was doing this. He bagged everything, tagged it, made sure that we knew which bolt, which nut went where, all of that. But as we disassembled things, we knew that we needed new tires, bearings, chain, and just a number of things that we had decided to replace and probably be the best. But then we took it outside, and I got out my sandblaster, and we went to town on it. Of course, these things from the factory, these go-karts, they're powder coated, so that can make paint removal pretty tough. So the sandblaster here, though, did the trick. It really did a good job of blasting all the rust and corrosion, the paint. Of course, we used tarps out there. We actually collected and saved, recycled quite a bit of sand. You'd be surprised. But it's a messy job for sure. Here, what you're looking at, I'd already primed with a direct-to-metal primer surfacer. We had sanded and scuffed that down on a different day, and then here I am shooting the red, hot rod red paint. I like to shoot in the morning when it's not having that many bugs around.
All right, we started at 7. Got it out here on this 2x6 riser, and we're able to get up underneath of it a little bit. Actually pretty good. The only place I missed was a real small, you can barely see it right there. But once we get the engine in and all the other stuff, may not be able to even tell it's there. But really had to be a contortionist to get in here and try to paint. It's crazy. So it ain't perfect, but it's a whole lot better than it was. And we'll start putting all the parts and pieces back on it. First thing we got to do is get the skid pan underneath. We're going to paint that with some POR 15, and I did do red here on the front nose, but we'll get that done underneath, flip it back over after that cures, and then start putting the parts back on.
All right, to take one more look all the way around this, this frame was a whole lot more difficult to paint than I ever thought it would be. Very difficult to get into the bends, the turns. things that have been welded up, support braces and all of that. Getting in there with a spray paint can or even we used automotive paint, both to prime it and to shoot the color. So I used a spray gun and a hose. It made it very difficult to do. So that's one thing I had not figured on. But I'm using POR 15 here just to paint the underpan, keep it from rusting and all of that kind of thing. Just using a brush and a roller here. But we were pretty happy with the paint job. Of course, when you saw the video there, we really didn't take a lot of time to smooth a bunch of stuff down. But we did paint the wheels with Rust-Oleum and painted the steering wheel metal with Rust-Oleum as well, 3 or 4 coats. Rust-Oleum does take a while to dry, that's for sure. I always use a little bit of off-the-shelf hardener in it. But started with the steering wheel and then start putting the spindles on up front, tie rods, and all of that. The nice thing about this cart, it did have Zerk fittings for grease up front. And of course that makes the steering, I think, work a little bit better back and forth and not so much resistance when you have all that weight on there. This cart here, I was surprised how heavy the frame is. And that's one of the surprising things that we discovered about how fast it would go when we had everything assembled and actually clocked it with an app, with a speedometer app. But and here we go. EJ's just finished tightening up the last couple of bolts on the roll cage. It's been a long time coming, but the Carter Go Kart is now back together.
Looks great. I love it.
So we've got the U.S. flag decals on the back, and EJ's got an Army star up front. Been painted the same red as the 55 Ford. Got new tires, new bearings, new engine, chain, torque converter. Thing's been blasted and painted, and it's time to take it for a spin. So we're going to turn this cart around and get it fired up here just a second.
Ready?
All right, here we go. Back on the road.
Those tires are really slick.
Yeah, I think they're a little slick. You might need to break them in a little bit, huh?
Yeah.
My son and I had a great time with this build, and working in the shop, he learned a few things. I thought that was very valuable, and it's a little bit of a break from working on the Ford, working on Y blocks and all of that. And we're probably looking forward to our next project, maybe a mini bike or another go-kart. I don't know, maybe one of these days I get him into automobile restoration. But until then, stay tuned to the Hot Rod Reverend website and the YouTube channel, social media pages. Thanks for watching.